Good morning, YouTube. It's KC Jilly. I'm fixing to get busy around my yard. We've been going through a little heat spell, and this week was finally pleasant. It was decent. We actually had a really nice summer compared to normal, but August was the real deal. And after a couple of weeks of 100 to 112 every day, this week's probably been around 85 to 90 degrees every day, and it was like, thank you, God. But I have let the garden go during that time, and everything's just gotten hairy around here, and I need to clean some things up. So it's gonna look like a massacre, but I'm gonna go through here and I'm gonna cut out all kinds of stuff. I'm gonna weed whack and get stuff set up so I can plant some clover and some cover crops and stuff. And I'm gonna establish where I'm gonna throw all my compost for next year, I guess you'd say. At least what little bit will be made, it'll stay in the same place. I'll just pick the big stuff out and throw it away. And whatever decomposed, well, that ground will be a little bit better off next year. But today's the day to start that, because I'm gonna call this the real beginning of my starting on fall. I've got some stuff out there at the secret garden that I've planted and started, and I'm gonna kind of succession sow this stuff. And I'm talking about my brassicas, cabbage, and I tried Brussels sprouts. For whatever reason, they didn't come. But broccoli, these kind of things. And I've still got tomatoes I need to plant. And I have time for that here, so I need to get with it. I'm gonna show you a little bit of before, and you can see the after. Okay, guys, over here, this little mess. I'm in my resting garden. And these are volunteers. But it's just so dadgum bushy and such a mess. I'm gonna thin some of this out down to a couple of stems and work off of these guys. So this is before. We'll see what it looks like after. Got a little carried away. I kept going too far, so I'm gonna catch y'all up to where I'm at. Okay, this is my resting garden where those tomatoes were going crazy. Brought some stakes over here and cut all the long hair off and just kind of kept one little piece. There's one actually right here. And if something comes back, I'll let it. If it doesn't, I don't care. Really had to trim up this Jane Magnolia. It was getting out of hand. Found something here. I'm not sure if it's a cantaloupe or maybe an Israeli melon, but we'll see how that works. That blueberry, I cut most of it off. There's that little bit. And to be honest, I'm kind of thinking of just killing it. I don't like those anyway. And I don't know what it is, but here's that other one. And look at all the space it made when I cut all that stuff out of there. You know what I mean? Quite a bit. And this is where all has been cut. So, pretty good little pile came out of here. Now, I'm leaving this stuff. I'll come through here with the weed eater on that. And this I'm also leaving because that's pinto beans all wrapped up in this tomato bush. I chopped down my onions and I threw the cut onions all over here so the smell will maybe run some stuff off. But while I was digging around, I found some goodies hiding down in there that I didn't even realize were there. Let's see there. Can you see that guy? So, this guy's producing some fruit. In fact, there was one that was already half eaten. I'm thinking it's maybe an Anise Noir. And I threw it over here. Something had already got it, but... So this guy's already been putting out fruit, and I didn't even know it. But that's the secret garden. That's the shape it's in, or not the secret garden, the resting garden. That's the shape it's in at this moment. Got a couple of tomato bushes there. Okay, and my peach tree, I went around here and kind of just got some of the shag off so I'll be able to mow and weed eat around it. Same thing over here. I got a little bit more aggressive because this guy was getting pretty hairy down here low. There was a lot growing in the middle, but I could easily get. That wasn't a big problem. Thinned out some of this stuff. These dadgum banana trees and cannas and stuff. I just pile them back in there on itself. It feeds it. But now I can actually walk through this section. It was like a little jungle in there. And it's opened it up, and that old banana tree's going good. And I just came right on around. Took off a couple of limbs off my ash tree. Needed it. And then over here, I kind of deadheaded a few spots where the rose bushes were getting hairy. And now this looks terrible in this moment, okay? But I opened it back up. You can see the rose bushes underneath. All these will come back. They're flowering. Look at these elephant ears. Isn't that pretty? But you can see it all through here. Got several. The reason I like keeping these guys down is the red wasps make nests up underneath these elephant ears. And if I accidentally jostle one without meaning to, I get chewed up. And I'm telling you, I had a bad week. About a week and a half ago, I came back here walking barefooted in the evening, and I stepped on a red wasp. It stung me, and I had a heck of a long day or two there. It's pretty sore. And then I walked out the next day, out the front yard to take my trash barefooted, and stepped on one out there. So it's time to address some of these issues. Okay, now that is the passion fruit vine. That's what these, you may accidentally see an orange butterfly floating around here at some spot. That's from these dadgum caterpillars. They eat this stuff up. My wife loves it. I don't really care for that, but look at them. They're getting on the fruit now, and this is the only fruit I see that this thing has produced. Get them things off of there. And I'd like to try it if they don't kill off the whole thing. And if they're going to, I wish my wife would let me cut it down, because it looks ugly and it's blocking light from my Serrano on the other side. But try to work with her. I trimmed down all my peppers. All my peppers is getting up to the sky, and I just threw the limbs over here with all the peppers on them. You know, you can see I got all different flavors in here. Got some jalapenos, and I've got some all these dang guys too here. Habanero, and down below there's some Carmen and even some Hungarian wax in that. But you can see that big pile. That's just cutting some of the tops off of these guys. That stuff that was getting pretty long and hairy and about to break off on its own anyway. So I did what I did. So it's a little bare looking right now, but I'm okay with it. It needed it. It's going to recover well now from this point. This guy got a bunch took off of it. It was really spreading out. It's pretty, real pretty bush. But I couldn't move around in there. You can see my bell pepper. I could cut it, but I'm not going to. We'll let it do whatever it can do here. All right. Did not touch Shorty there. He's just now fixing to get serious, which is a good thing. But this is my mammoth jalapeno, and it was almost over the fence. So I had to do something. And that'll help it. It'll bush out lower and be a little bit more controllable. I chopped off a few little limbs on these tomato bushes down low that look kind of crappy. But that's where I'm at. Now I'm fixing to start over there, and I'll show you what it looks like. So I had actually came in here and started a little bit, topping off some of this spinach. But I'm gonna cut it all off. You can see kind of about this level right here. And you see how much higher it is. It's all the way up to the electric there. So I'm gonna come down to about right in there and go all the way across. Even probably, to be honest with you, to the pomegranate, because the truth is it's getting dug up this year. It never gets a chance to make because I'm always having to keep it down. So I'm gonna chop that thing down. You'll see that there's a window behind there again. And I'm gonna come all the way over here to this fig tree. I'll leave the fig tree alone. I may thin it out a little bit, but you know, then it gets into this big mess, and it's probably gonna be allowed to stay for a little bit longer. But so this little section right here, let me step back. That section right there, you're gonna see it when I get done. I had to take a break. It started raining. I went in the house and made lunch for my wife and I, and then we sat down and watched a show, and I told her I better get back out there and get after it. So I'll show you what I got so far. I brought this Egyptian spinach down, and I just stack it around the bottom of the plant, because the fact is, it'll just sit there and compost. It ain't gonna hurt a dad burn thing. And you can see this poor tree never gets a chance. This guy too, the little fig, it's kind of squished in here too. I don't know how this will work. What I may do is, after this guy's gone, is start training these limbs out this way and have a long one like that, look like kind of like a menorah or something, some kind of candlestick. Thinned out quite a bit on this guy, as good as I could. You can see, here's the evidence. But you know, now I can kind of walk around there, walk through it without it being the end of the world. Now, also, I cheated and got a head start on y'all. I thinned it out in here too. I tied that little eggplant up and took off a little bit of that pepper plant so it stand up, it's falling over, and there's a little bell pepper down below it. I went ahead and made executive decisions, kept what I was going to keep on these guys, twisted them up on their ropes there, chopped all the basil down to just a couple of leaves. It'll come back. You can see I had quite a few peppers on these ones that I did cut off, and I had a lot of flowers and stuff too on all these tomato plants. I kind of hated to do it, but at the same time, you know, you can see at the same time it gets so sloppy you can't move anymore, and I've had a pretty bad problem with them tomato hornworms all around here. So now I'm gonna get it back to where I can keep up with it and pay attention, but you know, that's a lot easier to deal with right there. So I'm gonna take this, you see where that little board is right there that the greenhouse is kind of sitting on. I'm gonna top it right about there all the way across before it's all said and done. But I went ahead and got started back outside when the rain stopped, and I jumped on into this section. Now you can see here in my walkway, here's the pile of all the stuff's come out of there. Watermelons and all that. I've lost a couple of melons through it. I'm okay with it. I didn't want to, but you know what? I'm not gonna wait forever. I need to get this thing cleaned up where I can work with it again. There's a couple of little melons there, and there's an almost done one right here. This one's the only one that is such a shame. It's this guy right here. But you know, I can't follow this right now. It may accidentally have rooted itself, and when I get done taking down, see, I killed this comfrey. I say I killed it, you know better than that. If you have comfrey, I chopped it all down to nothing again so that I could see underneath it and get it kind of cleaned up in here, you know. But I'll do the same thing on this side of the tree. That comfrey will go down to that, and I can see where that watermelon vine is. If it's rooted itself back in over there somewhere, I'll leave it alone so I can't get it finished. But otherwise, I'm not going to sweat it. I made a little room in between my greenhouse and the trees. First time I've touched them in a long time. I sure didn't want to. I trimmed off a little bit of this smaller pepper bush right here, but this other one's kicking butt and it's standing up pretty good, so I'm not going to mess with it right now. I'll finish cleaning this up too, and next, I believe though, really, I'm going to get in here and I'm going to take out all these tomatoes and probably that watermelon vine back there too, and clean that up. And this may be back there is where I'll probably put all this composty stuff and just let it sit there and break down all winter long. That ground back there needs the most TLC, so it won't hurt it a bit. But I got my work cut out for me. I got to take this comfrey down to nothing too. That's a tree I cut down in a video last year. For those guys who follow me, you might remember I got in here, cut all these trees down. It's trying to branch back out, so I need to get that guy before it gets any further. I'm going to enjoy those sun golds. And I don't remember, I think maybe pink Berkeley tie-dye, but I do have one here. But you know what? I don't know. I may leave that one, the full-size tomato, and take these others. But I'm going to clean it out and get this stuff cleaned up in here. There's 2 or 3 years ago, I cut a pecan tree down, and that dude will not give up. He just keeps on coming back. That's what that maroon looking dude is right there. It looks like that because it's fighting so hard. It's down deep, and it's still trying to fight. But, you know, you can see that tomato, I don't even know, volunteer. I'm going to guess it's probably another one of those blueberry tomatoes. That little guy back there, that little melon, I don't know if you can see him back in there. I'm not even going to sweat it. I think it's a crimson sweet, but it's gone. And all this land, I'm going to devote all of this area in here. I'm going to give it to this asparagus and let it spread out and do its thing. And I'm not sure yet. I may dig up some of these strawberries and just put them in a greenhouse. Do my thing there. Now, you can see, I think you can see, on top of this shade cloth here, I'm just loaded down. And I'm allowing this birdhouse gourd to put out. And it's putting out, you know. I got them all over the place. These are going to be birdhouses for my grandbabies. We're going to let them dry out and paint them and have fun doing it. You can see here's another one up here. You know, they're all over the dadgum place. So this vine gets a little bit longer. I'd really like to take it out right now, but it is what it is. My greenhouse is in bad shape. Let me show you. You know, all my windows is pootered out. My Velcro-y stuff here, it's ripped loose on the bottoms on some of them. It's just not holding up now. when I took my shade cloth off of this guy, then I guess it loosened it up here too, because I got holes in the top, so it won't make it through the winter. If I'm gonna grow stuff in here during the winter that can't be in the weather, then I'm gonna have to do some repairs. And I have 2 brand new plastics that goes right over this, so that ain't the problem. Just depends on if I have time and if I feel like messing with this round. But I'm gonna get back at it, try to get this stuff finished, and next time I bring you back, I'll probably be done. We'll finish this video up. But you know, you got to break down and do it every once in a while. This stuff will just turn into a dadgum jungle, and it gets too hot. You can look at my hair. Look how old I am. Believe it or not, I'm only 46, but man, that stuff make you old fast. Too hot. So check y'all out in a minute with the end. Now all of my basil's been cleaned up out of there. Harvested a couple of peppers off of that little bush because it's knocking it over. All right, much better, much better. Now come over here. Okay, this area is now clean. Can use that. As you can tell, I have got a lot of work still to do, but at least I've got all this stuff thinned out and cleaned out of here now. You can see. And y'all, a lot of fruits and vegetables got sacrificed here doing all this. That melon was almost there, but it still had quite a bit. I had several peppers. I went ahead and brought it down a little bit because that guy was about to fall to pieces. This is actually 3 separate peppers in the lunchbox. Okay. And last but not least, I went through here and molested this. Now, you can look. I actually will have to come out here and harvest off all this stuff because it'll still ripen up even in this shape. But, you know, I don't know if y'all can see all this stuff. But, you know, I've got all kind of little baby tech paste tomatoes and stuff all through here. I got a whole bunch of sun golds to pick there, some more paste tomatoes. I left this one bush. It's pitiful shape and I can't tie it up at this point, but I can keep up with what's happening in there at this point. And if the big old fat tomato hornworms is eating on it, maybe I can see them now, because it was a mess. Look, I ran into one, or he ran into me while I was cleaning up. Oopsie, he had a little accident. I left this guy. It's not in the way or anything over in the corner, so anywho, getting back to the basics. Time for a fresh start on some of this stuff. So when I do my next update, y'all should have some stuff planted here, some new stuff. It's time. And I'll surely have some clover and some cover crop stuff planted all around also. But we get a fresh start and let's see what happens throughout the fall. Y'all come back and see me.